because I mean, even the parts on the 4K disc that look terrible, they only look terrible because it's been enhanced from its original. Hello, what up? It's John, your movie madman, and I'm back. Today we've got an old film that's been restored in 4K to show you, so that's exciting. Today we're talking about the 1980 John Carpenter's film, The Fog. So we're going to be talking about the 4K restoration of The Fog today, as I said just then. I only experienced this film for the first time this year. I saw it was one of those new old films that have been restored in 4K. I mean, look, it's a brand new restoration there. I love that they have to put brand new restoration on the bottom there. It'd be quite funny actually if it was just like it's old and shit, but then people probably wouldn't buy it. So we're going to open this because I haven't opened it yet. My best mate actually bought this for me just because he's really nice. So thanks, mate, you're really nice. Just going to open it and have a little look, eh? Let's have a little look inside. Get the plastic off. Now, when I borrowed this from my other friend to see what this was like, he only had it on DVD. He only had it on DVD, so I haven't actually seen this on Blu-ray yet. So what I'm going to do is let's have a little look inside. I think. Cool, look at that. So you got a nice Blu-ray there, and then there's a. Cool, there's 3 discs in this. There's the 4K disc there and a special features Blu-ray there as well, so that's quite exciting. They really pushed the boat out with the artwork there, as you can see. It's basically just the front cover on the disc, so you've done a really good job with that. Well done. I'm going to stick this into the player, have a little look at some of those Blu-ray scenes, have a look, see how they compare to the 4K, and I will come back and give you a bit of an opinion. Well, you say that. Right, so I've got an interesting one for you. This is probably the most 50-50 4K disc that I have seen in a while. So let's backtrack a little bit, okay? So I put in the Blu-ray. I watched about 5 minutes of it. Watched bits from the beginning. One of the things I did notice throughout the Blu-ray and the 4K looking at this is that you'd be surprised quite how much of this film is set at night time. And it's a bit like, always makes things a bit more difficult to see when you watch things that are set at night. But that's nothing against the restoration or anything like that. That's literally just because of how it was filmed and when it was set and blah blah blah. So yeah, I've looked at the Blu-ray, had a scan through it, looked at some of the stuff at night, some of the stuff during the day, had a look at some of the colours just to see what was brought out, what you could see, what you couldn't see. Sometimes I'll look at a Blu-ray and I'll see a colour and I'll be like, I'm going to remember that colour. And then when I watch it on the 4K disc, I look out for that colour to see if it's a little bit brighter or darker, or if it looks more detailed. Same with picture details and things like that. I will look at specific picture details and be like, right, I'm going to remember that. And then I'm going to have a look at the 4K disc and see if that looks any better. Because that's pretty much one of the ways that I do comparison stuff. To compare it, that's how it works, isn't it? You have to compare it, otherwise it's not a comparison. Dumbass. Without going into too much detail, obviously it's a horror film from 1980. Pretty sure it was shot in 1979 and released in 1980. One of John Carpenter's more famous films as well. One of his better films as well. A lot of his newer stuff's pretty poo these days, but a lot of his older stuff is pretty good. I saw this for the first time this year. I was very hesitant to watch it because there are a lot of older films that I haven't seen that I then go out of my way to watch because so many people are like, I can't believe you haven't seen that, you've got to watch it. So I just think, alright, I'll watch it just to shut you up. And then about 90% of the time I think the film's poo, because you know, you can't get nostalgia from something you haven't experienced before. So I was very hesitant to watch this in the first place because I was like, as good as everyone says it is, I just didn't think I was going to enjoy it. And to my surprise, I actually did. There, all the way through this film when I first saw it, I was actually genuinely quite surprised how much I actually enjoyed it. and how well the film was made, considering how old it is. It just, it really surprised me how much I actually enjoyed it. That was why I watched it on DVD first, because I didn't want to go out of my way to buy it in 4K and then find out I didn't like it. So I thought I'll watch it on DVD. Literally laughed all the way through at how bad some of the DVD stuff looked, and then I've bought it in 4K. So I mean, already 4K from DVD is quite a step up to start with. So I mean, there isn't really a comparison there. If someone says they're watching a DVD and comparing it to a 4K and they say the DVD looks better, there's quite clearly something wrong with your TV. Or your eyes, you know, maybe you need to change your eyes, because if you can't tell the difference between a DVD image and a 4K image, you're clearly an idiot. Colour-wise, this is where the 50-50 side of it comes in, alright? Let me explain that. So, the HDR in this pretty much does fuck all for the 4K disc. When I watched it on Blu-ray, there were loads and loads of little colours on the Blu-ray that I looked at, that I then looked at on the 4K disc, and they literally looked exactly the same, if not a little bit darker rather than a little bit brighter. So maybe this is just one of those restorations that's done by a lazy person and they were like, ah, fuck it, that'll do. But I don't know, because you know, I wasn't there when it was restored, so I can't really help you with that. But from watching the Blu-ray, there are quite a few bits in the Blu-ray that I was like, right, I'm going to remember that when I watch it on the 4K disc. And the 4K disc really brings out some of the grain. There's a lot of scenes during the day where on the 4K disc the picture looks too grainy. It reminded me a little bit of one of my other films that I've spoken about recently. But at the same time, there are loads and loads of bits and shots and sequences throughout this that I saw that looks alright. So it was a bit confusing, because there's a big bunch of shots in here that look absolutely awful, like they haven't been restored since it was made in 1980. And then there are other shots, like at night and during the day, that look absolutely fine and look really good and look really detailed. But I would not be able to go as far as to say 100% this is an incredible step up from the Blu-ray. But at the same time, I wouldn't go as far as to say you don't notice the difference. The parts on the 4K disc that do look terrible still look better than they look on the Blu-ray. So in all, it is still a good upgrade. But there are a lot of parts in there where you're like, well, that just looks awful. And then there'll be other parts where you'll be like, wow, I feel like this film was filmed yesterday. So all in all, I would say your best bet would be find someone that's got this in 4K, not me, and ask them if you can borrow it. That's a good shout. Borrow this film from someone that's bought it, then watch it, and then you can say, oh yeah, quite like that, or you'd be like, nah, that was crap, it looked absolutely awful. And then you can decide for yourself if you want to buy it or not. That's it for today. So if you could like this and subscribe to the channel, as you already know, and I will see you again soon.